Have you ever walked into your home with every intention of getting something done? You were going to answer that email, fold the laundry, something small, and somehow an hour just disappears. You pick up a phone for a second, make a coffee didn't really need, sat down for 5 minutes that turned into 40, and by the time you notice, the task has not gotten smaller. If anything, it feels heavier than when you started. Most of us blame ourselves when that happens. I am lazy. I have no discipline. But sometimes the problem is not only in your head. Your home is shaping how your brain behaves without you noticing. Through small signals it sends you all day long. The puzzles on the counter, the pile you keep stepping around. All of it can train your brain to delay instead of begin. Procrastination doesn't actually start when you sit down to work. It starts the second you walk into the room. Before you have even thought about the task, your eyes have already scanned around it. The bag by the door, the drawer that is not fully closed, the cup that has been sitting there since yesterday. You don't consciously register any of it, but your body does. It reads the room as a lot is unfinished here. Before you have made a single decision, you don't need a term for that. You just need to notice the feeling. A room full of half-made decisions does not feel like a place to start something. It feels like a place already asking something of you. And when your eyes keep landing on things that need attention, your mind never really feels free. It feels interrupted. Even a simple task starts to feel like one more thing piled onto a list you didn't know you were keeping. If you walk into a room and immediately sigh, that's worth noticing. It is your body saying, this place feels like effort. And the spots that make you sigh are usually the same spots where your energy gets stuck. This is exactly what was happening to me, and it took me years to see it. For the past 6 years, I have been fully working from home. There were days I would sit down to a task that should have taken 40 minutes and somehow end up scrolling my phone or deciding I needed to find something to eat, or suddenly remembering laundry needed doing. Anything but the actual work in front of me. Part of it, I think, was that I never really had a proper work desk. I work from the dining table, surrounded by everything else go in the house. Dishes, laundry, the TV in the next room. And it made it so easy to get distracted. My actual work started taking longer to finish than it should have. For a while, I genuinely wondered if working from home had just made me less focused, less productive than I used to be sitting in office. For years, I blamed my own discipline. I told myself I just needed to try harder, focus better. But then I started paying attention to when it actually happened, and it was almost always that same table, surrounded by the same half-finished pile of things I kept meaning to deal with. That is when it hit me. It was never really about discipline. My workplace had stopped being a place where I sat down and worked. Somewhere along the way, it had quietly become the place I went to avoid work instead, the spot where distraction felt easier than starting. I remember sitting there one afternoon, staring at my laptop and just thinking, why can't I do this? Such a small task. And it was not until I looked up from the screen and actually saw the table, really saw it, that I understood I would have been asking the wrong question the whole time. Stick with me, because in a minute I'll walk you through exactly how to fix one of these spots today. Let's start with 2 spots that shape how your day begins, your desk and your front door, because they are really doing the same job. A desk is supposed to support focus, but so many quietly turn into storage. Or receipts, charges, sticky notes, things that have nothing to do with work. You sit down and before you even open your laptop, the desk is pulling you in 20 directions. That's not inviting you to start. It is inviting you to leave. Suddenly you need to check your phone, make coffee, move to the couch instead. A clear sign your desk is working against you. You own one, but barely use it. You bring a laptop to bed, answers emails from the dining table, and slowly the line between work and rest blurs everywhere in the house. A space works better when it has one clear job. Clear of everything except what you actually need for next. And certainly sitting down doesn't feel like such a big deal. Your entrance runs on the same route, just earlier in the day. If it is crowded with shoes, puzzles, and things waiting to be written, you are dealing with clutter before you have even taken your shoes off. One spot for keys, one spot for shoes, a hook for the bag you actually use. That is the whole fix. If your mornings feel chaotic, look at the path from bedroom to door before blaming your own personality. Hunting for keys, missing one thing from your bag every single time. These small delays train your brain to expect stress before it even acts, and once it believes starting is annoying, putting things off gets a lot more tempting. I have a friend of mine, she runs her own business out of a small room, spent a whole weekend redoing her office. New desk, new chair, moved the lamp twice, still couldn't sit still in it. It was not until she was literally tripping over a parcel by the front door one morning, running late, that she stopped and said out loud, "Why do I still have this here?" That parcel had been sitting there for over a week. She cleared the entryway that same day. Nothing else changed, and told me her morning just felt lighter after. Not calmer exactly, just lighter. If you have already spotted your own version of that parcels while I have been talking, the front door, the chair, wherever it is, drop it in the comments below. I read all of them, and it generally shapes what I cover next. So that's the start of the day. Now let's flip it, because the same thing happening at bedtime too, just working on you in reverse. Imagine your bedroom at 8 at night, laundry on the chair, a folder from work you have not touched, your phone face up, glowing slightly on the nightstand. None of it looks like much, but your body reads all of it as unfinished business, and part of your mind quietly stays half on. Even while you are lying there trying to sleep, you can feel physically tired but somehow still mentally wired. That matters more than people realize, because the first and last things you see each day tend to set the tone for how it feels. If clutter is the first thing you see when you wake up, and the last thing you see before you close your eyes, your mind can end up ending the day a little tense without you ever really knowing why. Sometimes it is not dramatic at all, just a quiet, "I will deal with it tomorrow." The fix does not need to be complicated. Getting anything unfinished out of view from the bed, even just closing a folder or clearing off the nightstand, is often enough to let the room actually feel like a bedroom again. The phone deserves its own mention here, because it is doing more work than anything else on that nightstand. It is a direct line to everything you have not finished yet. Emails, messages, tomorrow's schedule, whatever you were scrolling before your eyes closed. It keeps something alert and switched on sitting right next to your head while the rest of the room has gone quiet. You don't have to ban it from the room entirely. Just put it somewhere you have to get up to read, even if that is the other side of the nightstand. That one small distance is often enough to let your body actually believe the day is done. And it is not only the nightstand. The same pile just shows up somewhere else the next morning. Clear the counter tonight, and by tomorrow evening, something is sitting on it again. Not because you are messy, but because nothing on that surface has an actual home to go back to. That is really the tell. It is less about the mess itself and more about the fact that nothing being given a place, which is really the whole thing underneath of this. What is the task before the task? If it's always clearing, searching, or deciding first, your space is teaching you to put things off, because your brain does not just respond to the main activity. It responds to how many steps stand between you and it. This is where something I would call a start signal comes in. Just something visible that makes the next move obvious. So there is no task before the task at all. Want to journal in the morning? The notebook's already sitting where you are be sitting. Want to stretch? that the mat already out, not buried under something else. Most of us don't fail because the task is hard. We delay because the beginning feels unclear, and where you put things quietly decides whether that beginning is easy or annoying to find. So here's something worth trying tonight, and it only takes one spot. Pick the place where you delay the most and stand there for a second and ask honestly, what is this space asking of me? Decide plainly what it is actually for. Clear out anything that argues with that purpose and leave behind one visible cue for tomorrow's first step. The notebook already out, the keys already placed, the counter already clear enough for breakfast. Then notice the difference. A lighter space usually creates a quieter feeling in the body. Not because you fix everything, but because the room is asking less of you now. Maybe this is the kindest way to think about procrastination. You are not lazy, you are just carrying a home full of small unfinished tasks, and every one of them is asking for your attention before you have even sat down. A home that actually supports you does not need to shout or guilt you into being better. It just gets a little quieter, a little clearer, and the next step just stop feeling like a fight. So do not try to fix the whole house tonight. Just pick one spot. Maybe it is the nightstand, and tell me in the comments which one you are starting with. Your home does not need a big weekend project. It just needs one less unfinished thing tonight, and tomorrow mornings tends to feel little different because of it. If this kind of reset is something you want more of, hit subscribe so the next one finds you. I've got more of this coming, and I would love for you to be here for them. Thank you. Goodbye.